Obsidian's Fergus Urquhart recently mentioned how he'd love to make another Fallout game, and as much as I and the Fallout fanbase would love this, the chances of this happening are slim at best, as Obsidian already have their hands full with Avowed and The Outer Worlds 2. Bethesda are in a similar position as well, as once Starfield is released, they will move on to Elder Scrolls 6. Luckily, we have Fallout 76 to tide us over until the next game. All jokes aside, when can we actually expect a new Fallout game, and what changes could they possibly make? Fallout 4 was mixed across the fanbase, but in my opinion, it made good additions to the franchise. So in this video, I am going to talk about systems and mechanics that I liked across the Fallout series, which ones should return for the next installment, and what improvements can be made. Before we start, if you are new here and you like games such as Fallout, Skyrim, The Witcher and Cyberpunk, please consider subscribing, as I aim to make RPGs the main focus of this channel. Thank you very much. To start things off, I must say it isn't looking too promising for us Fallout fans. Bethesda are blessing us with a next-gen patch this year for Fallout 4 and more Creation Club content, but there is a possibility that we won't be getting a Fallout game on this generation of hardware, and I'm going to explain my reasoning for why I believe this. Let's take a look at the first console launch from each generation from 2005 onwards. The Xbox 360 released in late 2005, while the PS3 released in 2006. The Xbox One and PS4 came out in late 2013, and the Xbox Series consoles and PS5 released in late 2020. So roughly every 7 years a new generation of hardware is released, and we are already 2 years into this current generation. Bethesda will aim to release Starfield at some point this year, and after that Elder Scrolls will likely go into full production and could possibly take anywhere between 3 to 7 years to develop. And once Elder Scrolls 6 is released, this is when Bethesda will start development on the next Fallout game. If Bethesda choose not to hand off the IP to another developer, I wouldn't expect a Fallout game until the next decade, as well as being on the next generation of hardware. Let's hope Bethesda and Microsoft can make a plan which will appease the fans, because just like Elder Scrolls, there will be at least 15 years between the last mainline game and its sequel. But let's say there is a plan in place and we get a Fallout game much sooner. What should be changed from previous titles? Well, firstly, and a pretty obvious point, is the next Fallout has to be a single player experience. Even though Fallout 76 has improved over the last few years, and admittedly it can be really fun to play, in my opinion Fallout 76 is not a true definitive Fallout experience. And when I speak about a Fallout experience, this could vary from player to player, because Fallout allows you to create your own stories within the games. But from a generalized view, Fallout is supposed to be a harsh post-apocalyptic wasteland that makes you feel like you are alone. You are supposed to have choices that have impactful consequences that will shape the future of the wasteland for the better or worse. Fallout 76 wasn't able to encapsulate the tone and feeling of prior Fallout experiences. Not only is this because of the direction of the game, it's also due to having multiplayer. Multiplayer ultimately reduces the threat of any enemy or fear, as you are not alone and have a better chance of survival. So I think it is imperative that the next game is a single player experience. And this leads to the dialogue, plot and critical choices. Bethesda learned from Fallout 4 by not adding a voice protagonist in both Fallout 76 and Starfield, which is great. This should lead to more unique and skill-based dialogue options, as this time around I believe they need to turn it up a notch. In Fallout 4, your choices are centered around what faction to align with to help them reach their objectives by the end of the game. But how do their objectives shape the future of the wasteland? It doesn't, which is disappointing, as there are no consequences for my involvement. In the next installment, we need quests and objectives which lead to consequences to shape the future of the wasteland and how you you are viewed by other factions. It should also lead to factions making their decisions based on my actions. This is so you can make the world feel more reactive, and it brings more immersion for the player. Now, choices cannot be as simple as good versus bad, as most players will just pick the good choice from instinct. Instead, choices should be designed in a way where they are morally ambiguous. Fallout New Vegas does this flawlessly, and I believe this is why it's regarded as the best game in the franchise. Whatever Bethesda choose to do, let's just hope that the main objective shakes things up. I'm sure at this point every Fallout game has either had you look for something or someone for the main objective, and the problem with having someone or something to find is it creates a sense of urgency, which then the main narrative objectives conflict with the side activities in exploring. Should I really be building a settlement for a bunch of people I have only just met, rather than finding my son? I have faith that whoever creates the next installment will create great new factions as well as bringing back some old ones. On the topic of factions, the faction reputation system from New Vegas should return, but with one slight adjustment. When a player kills someone in a particular faction, your reputation does not reduce unless there was a witness. This would be similar to the bounty system in Skyrim and Red Dead Redemption 2. You shouldn't end up vilified for killing someone when there is no one around to tell the tale. Also, allow us to kill any NPC again. Preston Garvey would be my first target simply for contacting me about those settlements through the radio. Speaking of settlements, I do hope they return with a few adjustments. The perfect balance would be a combination of what Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 bring to the system. Have a range of locations which can be used as settlements as they are in Fallout 4, but allow the player to set just one as home, and give the player the choice to improve and engage with other settlements if they so desire to. And this is where I would add the camp system from Fallout 76. The camp system will allow the player to do basic tasks like make amendments to guns, eat, cook and sleep. Add a system to summon a companion through the radio which can be accessed in the camp to swap out companions, or send them to drop off junk and items to your settlement. This will give the player more options as well as not having to worry so much about weight. There will also need to be consequences involved, like if you set up a camp too close to a raider outpost or a deathclaw den, then there's a possibility of being attacked. This mechanic would be similar to sleeping and waking up to cannibals in the forest. We now have to consider the crafting and junk systems, which in my opinion they are perfect. The loop of looking for resources and crafting is so addictive and is one of the best systems in gaming to date. In the Wasteland, it makes perfect sense for the player to be looking for resources, and if you don't like the crafting system, you don't have to engage with it. You could easily go through Fallout 4 by having high charisma, earning caps and buying what you need. There are two mechanics in Fallout 76 which should continue for the next installment, which is weapon durability and bullet crafting. Some people may find weapon durability to be a frustrating mechanic, but it adds a sense of realism and depth to not only the world but also the combat. It will have players think more carefully about when and how they choose to battle. I'm not saying weapons should break at zero durability. Instead, have weapons jam the lower the durability meter is, and add a new animation for this, so essentially it is a time penalty cost and can be critical in a fight. We have seen mechanics like this used in games like Metro Exodus, which is another post-apocalyptic setting. However, the gun durability will need to be balanced well, as we don't want to frustrate the player. Using the same resources to repair and upgrade a weapon could cause this, so maybe the resources could just be cloth, and it could be handled similar to Red Dead Redemption 2, where you can just clean your weapons. For this, no fancy animation is needed. It could simply be an option in the weapons workbench. And this brings me to bullet crafting. This was already featured in Fallout New Vegas. We should be able to break down ammo for guns that we don't use for resources, and then allow us to use these resources to create ammo that we do need. This one I feel a bit mixed on it, as how do you balance a system like this so that the player doesn't have a ton of ammo? In Fallout 76 I found that when I used my automatic rifles build, I constantly had to go find lead for 45 rounds. I don't know. What do you think? Should ammo crafting be added to the next game? What would you like to see return or be left out of the next Fallout game? Thank you for spending time with me today as we discussed all things Fallout. If you enjoyed this video and haven't already, please like and subscribe. My name is Jammer. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram where my handle is Jammer the Gamer. Speak to you soon.